Welcome back to Mystery Case X. Today we're continuing our true crime series with a baffling case that took place near the Changbai Mountains in Jilin Province, China. And of course, the Changbai Mountain in this case is a real-life location, not a virtual one. This case has a slight supernatural, almost eerie undertone to it, yet it is a 100% real, true crime case. So, what exactly happened here that made this investigation grab the attention of the entire Chinese public? Let's dive right in. Around June 2008, in a small village nestled at the foot of the Changbai Mountains in Jilin Province, a woman named Liu Xiaolin walked into the local police station to report a crime. She brought with her a camouflage jacket soaked in blood and firmly told the police she knew exactly who it belonged to. It was the jacket of a man named Jiang Yongqing who lived just a few steps away from her house, separated only by a small patch of sand. Liu Xiaolin stated that she hadn't seen him for a full week. According to her statement, Jiang was a friend and business partner. They traded wooden furniture together. The last time she saw him was on June 11th when he came over to her house to organize some inventory, and then he vanished without a trace. The police immediately went to Jiang's house to investigate. Looking around inside, they found that all his belongings were perfectly intact. There were no signs of a struggle or a break-in. There were also no indications that he had fled to escape dead. Usually, if someone is running from loan sharks, they take clothes and valuables with them. But here, everything was exactly as it should be. The theory that he had skipped town was quickly ruled out. While examining the exterior of the property, the officers noticed something odd about that small pile of sand between Liu's and Jiang's houses. A dense swarm of flies was relentlessly buzzing around the sand, refusing to leave. Sensing something suspicious, the police dug into the sand pile and discovered human bloodstains hidden beneath the surface. Even though the amount of blood was small and mixed with sand, forensic experts managed to extract DNA. The test results confirmed it. The blood in the sand was an exact match to the blood on the camouflage jacket Liu had handed over. It belonged to Jiang. So where was Jiang now? Was he alive or dead? Was he in danger somewhere? A barrage of difficult questions suddenly loomed over the investigation. A few days later, a young woman named Jiang Yan arrived at the Jilin Provincial Police Station. She looked absolutely distraught and terrified. However, the story she told the authorities sounded completely absurd. She claimed she had a dream where her younger brother came to her and revealed that he had been brutally murdered. He even told her that his body was buried in a specific corner at the foot of the Changbai Mountains. Naturally, in an age of modern science, the police found it hard to believe a story about a ghost delivering a message in a dream. But when the woman stated her brother's name was Jiang Yongqing, the investigators were stunned. This was the exact man they had been desperately searching for over the past several days. In fact, the police had been planning to contact Jiang Yan as she was the victim's biological older sister. However, she lived in a completely different province far away from her brother. Before they could even reach out, she had shown up on her own with this bizarre story. Even though they were highly skeptical, seeing Jiang Yan's genuine pain and absolute sincerity, the police realized she wasn't lying or playing a prank. They decided to follow her to the location she saw in her dream. When the task force arrived at the area with Jiang Yan, they were completely taken aback. Even though Jiang Yan had never lived near the Changbai Mountains, she seemed to know exactly where she was going, claiming she was following her brother's directions from the dream. She led them to a spot about 20 meters away from a set of railroad tracks. This area was incredibly isolated and desolate. Almost no one ever came out here. At that spot, Jiang Yan stopped and looked around. Instantly, with their trained eyes, the police noticed a patch of soil that looked a different color from the surrounding dirt. It clearly showed signs of having been recently dug up. Soil from deeper down is always darker than the dry dirt on the surface. They immediately started digging. After going down about 2 meters, they struck a human body. It was Jiang Yongqing. The corpse was already in an advanced state of decomposition. After transferring the body to the morgue for an autopsy, it was confirmed that the victim was wearing the camouflage pants that matched the bloody jacket Liu Xiaolin had turned in. Jiang Yongqing's body had a total of 13 stab wounds, large and small. The murder weapon was determined to be a sharp knife. Among those wounds, there was one fatal strike directly to the chest that pierced his heart, killing him instantly. The sheer force of the blow indicated that the killer was incredibly decisive and ruthless. However, at the actual burial site, there were no signs of a struggle or a fight. The surrounding ground was completely undisturbed aside from the freshly dug grave. This led the police to start digging into Jiang Yongqing's personal relationships. There was an important detail here. Digging a 2-meter deep hole requires a tremendous amount of physical strength. If the killer were a woman, she would almost certainly have needed an accomplice. Furthermore, Jiang Yongqing was a large man, standing 1.8 meters tall and weighing over 90 kilograms. This proved that Jiang Yongqing had been murdered somewhere else, and the killer had transported his body to this remote location to dispose of it. But how did they move such a heavy corpse? More importantly, there were no tire tracks or footprints anywhere near the grave. This meant the killer was incredibly calm, methodical, and had carefully erased all traces before leaving. Following standard investigative procedures, the police began scrutinizing the victim's closest connections. The first person to fall under suspicion was his sister, Jiang Yan. Her story about the prophetic dream was simply too unbelievable, and the fact that she knew the exact burial location forced the police to consider her a suspect. In reality, there have been plenty of cases where the actual killer is the one who reports the crime to mislead the investigation. However, after a thorough background check, the police ruled her out. Jiang Yan lived in another province, had a gentle, introverted personality, and had always maintained a close, loving relationship with her brother. She had absolutely no motive for the murder. Digging deeper into Jiang Yongqing's social circle, the police discovered he had a girlfriend named Li Mai. When questioned, Li Mai revealed they had recently broken up. The reason she caught Jiang Yongqing cheating on her with another woman. And that woman was none other than Liu Xiaolin, the neighbor who had brought the bloody jacket to the police. What made this even more complicated was that Liu Xiaolin was a married woman. Her husband, Gu Da, worked as a train conductor and was frequently away from home. Instantly, this married couple became the prime suspects. The police hypothesized that perhaps the husband, Gu Da, had discovered his wife's affair and murdered his rival in a fit of jealous rage. But alibi checks quickly cleared them both. On the night of the murder, Gu Da was operating a train in another province and was definitively not in the area. While Liu wasn't at the scene either, her demeanor during questioning was highly suspicious. She was hesitant, evasive, and clearly hiding something. Under intense interrogation, the police uncovered a shocking truth. Liu wasn't just having an affair with Jiang Yang. She was simultaneously involved in another illicit relationship with a man named Hang Ji. This messy, tangled web of infidelity made even the seasoned investigators shake their heads in disbelief. According to Liu Hangzhi, was an aggressive, domineering, and pathologically jealous man. Even knowing she was married, he wanted to possess her entirely. When she tried to end the relationship because she couldn't stand his toxic behavior, Hangzhi flat out refused to let her go. It was during this turbulent back and forth that she started seeing Zhang Yongqing. When the police went to Hangzhi's house, his younger brother swore that Hangzhi was home on the night of the murder. However, there was a glaring red flag. Just 2 days after Zhang Yang's body was found, Hangzhi abruptly packed his bags and left town, claiming he was going to the city to visit his daughter at college. This was in June, right when college students were getting ready to go on summer break and return home. A father suddenly traveling to visit his child at that exact time made absolutely no sense. Realizing Hangzhi was likely trying to flee the police, used a classic tactic, beating the grass to scare the snake. They leaked a fake story to the local media, stating suspect Gu Da has been arrested in connection with the death of Zhang Yongqing. Just as they predicted 3 days after the news broke, Hangzhou, believing a scapegoat had taken the fall, felt safe enough to return home. While waiting for him to show up, the police secured another crucial piece of evidence from a neighbor. The neighbor stated that on the night of the murder, Hangzhi had borrowed his wheelbarrow. When the police inspected the wheelbarrow, they noticed it was suspiciously clean. Usually, wheelbarrows used for hauling dirt and cement are filthy. Very few people bother to scrub them spotless. Through advanced forensic testing, the investigators found microscopic traces of blood remaining on the metal. No matter how thoroughly it had been washed, invisible traces still lingered under specialized lighting, and that blood belonged to Zhang Yongqing. The moment Hangzhi set foot back in his house, police officers swarmed in and arrested him. During an emergency search of his property, they found 2 blood-stained knives hidden securely beneath a loose brick in his bathroom. The DNA on the weapons was a perfect match to the victim. Faced with this irrefutable ironclad evidence, Hangzhi finally bowed his head and confessed. He admitted that, driven by an obsessive jealousy after seeing Liu Xiaolin and Zhang Yongqing together, he had planned the murder of his rival. He carefully prepared beforehand by going up to the mountain and digging the 2-meter-deep grave. On that fateful night when he saw Zhang Yongqing walking out of Liu Xiaolin's house, his jealous rage boiled over. He rushed forward and stabbed the victim, repeatedly killing him instantly on the patch of sand between the 2 houses. That explained the blood in the sand. Afterward, he borrowed the neighbor's wheelbarrow, transported Zhang Yongqing's body up the mountain, buried him in the pre-dug hole, and then hid the murder weapons. Ultimately, the killer Hangzhi was sentenced to death for his brutal and premeditated crime. The case was closed, but it left the public with 2 lingering questions. First, what exactly was the prophetic dream experienced by the victim's sister, Jing Yan? From a modern scientific perspective, it is still impossible to explain how someone living far away who had never even visited the Changbai Mountains could pinpoint the exact location of her brother's hidden grave. Perhaps this will remain an unsolved supernatural mystery forever. The second point is that this entire tragedy of blood and tears stem from the actions of a deceitful, unfaithful woman. Just to satisfy her own selfish desires, she indirectly pushed 2 men to their deaths one brutally murdered and the other paying with his life on execution row. Her own family was undoubtedly destroyed by this shocking scandal as well. It's true what they say, there are many kinds of foolishness in this world. But just because of one reckless woman, two men had to pay the ultimate price. It truly is a bitter end for everyone involved. That brings us to the end of today's video. We'll see you again in our next mystery case. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.